Hello everyone, this is Sherry and this is Blue and you're watching Lessons Learned. Welcome back to the Batik Boho Throw project, and we are on episode number 3 here, and today we're going to learn how to tack down our petals. And if you remember and you've got your petals done, you've got your interfacing on the back with the glue side out and down onto your base. So you want to at least put a pin or two in your petals before you take it down from your design wall so that you can preserve your placement, or however you ended up doing it. Just make sure everything's where you want it before you lay it flat down to iron these petals down. I have my wool mat under here for pressing. I'm working on my cutting table on top of my OFA mat, but I'm going to only press where I can feel my mat, which is from here to here. Okay, so I'm only going to press, and then I'll move it to one side and get the rest of the petals, and then up and down as well as necessary. So you want to get your iron hot, like on the cotton setting, but not on the steam setting. Fusible interfacing, contrary to popular belief, should not be steamed. As fast as you get it down to stick, and a few seconds more with that steam iron, and it will unstick it. So just be mindful of that. You do want it hot, but not steam. Okay, so here I have this particular petal. I'm going to start with this turquoise one, and I have my pin in here, and of course it has a plastic top, so I'm not going to be able to leave that pin in there. So I will probably start to press up here and then pull the pin out and then press the rest of it. So let's go ahead and do that. Now you don't want your white edges of your interfacing sticking out too much. Your stitching that we're going to do to applique them on will camouflage most of that, but you certainly don't want, you know, to have a big stripe of it sticking out like this. So just be mindful of that and of your shape. Maintain the petal shape that you cut out. Okay, so here we go with our iron. I have an iron that automatically goes on and off as needed, so I'm going to have to get it back up to temperature real quick. It comes back pretty quick. I'm using a Panasonic NI-W810CS. It's a nice iron. It's not the pick that I would have normally based on what's new out there. There is another Panasonic model that's much more designed for quilters and piecers, but this one works really nicely. So I'm just going to go ahead and, without burning myself, kind of work on this part. I'm just trying not to get on my other petals, and you want to just hold it down for a few seconds. And then you'll see that it's laying nice and flat. Now I do have a little bit of a ridge there of my interfacing, but I'm not going to sweat that because I think my applique stitching will take care of that. So I'm going to take my pin out and set it aside, and then go ahead and do the other part. So now we're getting that nice pressed look that we want on our petals, and a little bit of stability to keep them where they are. So let's do this one here now. I'm going to leave that pin in for my first half. And there again, you don't want to put a whole lot of iron pressure on the ones that you've already done. The more heat that goes on there, it could start that unsticking process that I was talking about. So I just want to get my iron on there Try to stay away from my other petals until I can position them exactly the way I want them. Go down to the other side. Stay on it for a couple seconds. And there we go. See there, you could rip that up right now, but it is pretty stable where it's at. So as long as you don't do a lot of ringing around with it and, you know, being rough with it, these are going to stay in their place. Okay, set that pin aside. This one is on the board still. Here's my mat underneath. So I'm going to go ahead and take that pin out and try to do half of my petal. About 10 seconds or so there. It's okay if you overlap a little bit where you've been, but you just don't want to scorch your material, and you don't want to stay on there so long that, you know, it's the glue deactivates. I don't know what happens. I don't know if it evaporates or what happens, but it'll just come unsticked almost as quick as it becomes stuck. Sticked? That's not a word. Okay, so there we've got 3 down. Let me see if I have anything else on my board here. Looks like I'm gonna have to pull it down a little bit or up. I think I'll pull down. Get a few more on here. Let's pull this way. Okay, see if we can do this one. See, I can lift this one up and out of the way so that it doesn't get pressed in with what I'm doing. Go down here and do the other half. See, this is bending over the edge and it's still hanging on, these ones that I did. It is making me a little nervous though, I have to admit. So I'm going to hurry and get these done on this side, pull it back up. Okay, just kind of do a little replacement if you need to. Okay. Okay, so you get the idea. Here are my, I don't want to mess with that one I just ironed too much. Here are my petals that I've done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See how they've, you know, they're on there. And we'll be able to sew on the sewing machine with that. If you don't feel like your interfacing is sticking very well, go ahead and stick your pin back in the middle of it until you get your sewing done. But this will help a lot in guiding your sewing when you're doing your applique. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of my petals on here, get them all ironed on, and I'll meet you back at the sewing machine. Okay, so here we are at the machine. I have threaded my machine with a 100% cotton Quilt Plus from Coats. And it is a kind of a steel gray number 93062, I believe. 30 weight. These are 600 yard spools that you can get at Joann's. I recently had them on sale. Buy 3 get 2 free. So I got 5 600 yard, I think it was. Yeah, I got 3 600-yard spools of this, which is a color that I like to use, some sort of gray, for $24 and something for 5 spools. So I got 3 of these in gray, and I got a white and a cream color. So I loaded that on my machine, and I wound 2 bobbins for this applique part, and I did put it on the bobbin as well, like I said. And I don't know, I just thought that would go good with the overall look of the applique. So here is what it looks like on a scrap piece. So I'm going to be putting that all the way around on my petals, and I will show you one when I get it finished. I did end up putting a pin in the middle of each one. I just felt like these were not going to hold super good in my lap, even though I'm trying to be very careful with it. So here we go, sewing, and I'll meet you back here in just a second. You can watch this on time lapse while I slowly go around each of these petals. And like I said, I'll show you the first one when I get it done. So there's the end result of my first petal applique. Hope you can see the stitches on there. This machine does a really nice job of it. And the foot that you use for it, you just go along the inside edge of the right hand little toe that sticks out, and it just goes perfectly around through there. I'm pleased with it, and I like the steel gray thread. It doesn't detract from the petal. Kind of blends in nice with the background as well. And an alternative to this, if you don't want to do machine applique or you don't have that option on your machine, is just set your thread length to 3 or 3.5, and then top stitch. Just top stitch, just barely inside the edge. It'll look just as nice. This just gives that true applique look, but if you don't need that or want that, you can just do a plain top stitch on it. And I would just go, like I said, like just to the very edge, like no more than 1/8 of an inch in. A 1/16 would be better. And it'll look perfect too. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of my petals, and I'll meet you back with the final look at the quilt with all the petals appliqué. Be right back. So before I got to the end of my petal applique here, I wanted to show you exactly what I was doing as far as the placement of the foot in relation to the stitching. And here you'll notice that I've got about a 1/16 of an inch or less even of space between my petal and this toe of this foot. And that allows this stitch right here to catch over the edge and onto the base like applique is supposed to. It doesn't, since this is machine applique, it doesn't matter a whole lot if it doesn't catch on the base and it catches on the top. It's still, you know, sewn all the way down. And then also on this tip, I found it best to just go down from the tip when you start the same distance that the width of this applique stitch is. And then when you come back up, which is what I'm doing right now, then you can make that point with this part of the stitch, the straight stitch. And don't do any sort of back stitching or anything like that when you start or end, because it just makes kind of like a tight zigzaggy bit of a mess. It does leave a little bit of floppiness here on the end, but I'm thinking with the quilting that I'll be doing over top of this, I can tack that down with that. If not, I'll figure something out for that. But it's always hard with a point this severe on applique to get it to to turn and get a, you know, a perfectly even turn there with this type of a stitch. It's just so big. I stuck the center in there. I have not attached it yet. So I just wanted you guys to see what it looks like with the yellow center. I'm still on the fence, although the majority of you did like the yellow center. So now that it's seriously in play, what do you think? I hate to ask you this again, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to put it in. And let's get a little bit closer so that you can see the applique a little bit better. Some are better than others. I mean, basically, I did good on the applique. I was learning how to gauge, how to stop and end it. By the time I got about halfway through, I figured it out. But that's okay, I don't mind. And this is a hippie quilt, so it's supposed to be a little rough around the edges, isn't it? So I really like it. I'm still loving it. Not sure about this. Not sure. I'm probably going to put it in. So let's take one more look far away. Farther away anyway. There you go. So what do you think? How is yours going if you're making it? Let me know how it's going. If you have any pointers for me, please send them along. Too late on the applique now, but for any future projects, if there's something I could do better, I want to hear about it. Okay? Alright. So this is the end of episode 3. And the next time we meet on this project, we will be putting our sandwich together and getting ready to do some free motion quilting. At least that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to do some free motion quilting on this. And so we'll have a finishing episode on the Batik Boho throw. So stay tuned and I'll see you soon. Bye.